So welcome to this Jeet Kune Do interactive class. So the purpose of this class is to take you through the Jeet Kune Do curriculum as if we're training face-to-face, online, or in person. This is essentially your private introduction to Jeet Kune Do. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. The first thing we do when we start class is we do our traditional salute or our bow. This is one of the things that Bruce Lee kept from traditional Kung Fu that he incorporated, of course, into Jeet Kune Do. So I want you to follow after me. This is interactive, so you're gonna do this with me, okay? So we're gonna start with our feet together. I'm gonna say Ibe, which is the command for get ready or get set. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your left hand. This will be your left hand. It's kind of a knife hand here, fingers together. That's gonna come in front of your belly button with your right fist. Left hand in front of right fist, right around belly button height here, okay? From here, I'll say Gen Lai, which means that's the command for salute. From here, we're gonna take all of this whole unit, we're gonna bring this to our right side here. So your fist is gonna be face up, your hand is gonna be covering. At the same time, we come here, our right heel is stepping out, okay? So our right heel is stepping out. What that means is that my toe is facing away from me, right? My toe is facing away from me. So that is here. Then I'm gonna step forward as I press my hands forward and I'm gonna come on my toe here. I'm gonna step back a little bit so you can see the toe. And I'm coming back on the toe. And this is our salute. Once you're here, you're gonna roll back. So the fist will come back to the chest. Your left foot will step back behind the right. And then your right foot comes back to meet the left as your fists roll through, okay? So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna do this a few times. I know you're like, what did he do? We're gonna do this a few times, and I'm gonna mirror you here, okay? I'm gonna mirror you here, so I'm gonna go opposite side here. I just want you to follow along as best you can. So you're gonna take, again, start with your feet together. You're gonna take your left hand. Left hand is gonna come in front of your right fist. Again, the command for that is Ibe. So Ibe, left hand, right fist, right in front, belly button height. So therefore, I've got a slight bend in my elbows here. We got the first motion, right? Got the first motion. So here we go. Gen Lai, that's the command for salute. So this is gonna pull back to your right side. Right fist and left hand will come back together like so. Back together. I'll show you from this angle as well. Back together like so. Again, this should be your right fist and your left hand. I'm mirroring you. I'm going opposite just so you can see. But it's gonna come right back to my side like so. At the same time this happens, my right heel is stepping out. The right heel. What that means is that all of my body weight is still on my back leg, on my left leg. So you should be able to lift up your right heel off the ground very easily. If my weight is forward here, it's very hard to lift this off the ground. I have to move my weight back, right? Move my upper body back, then I can lift this up. So I want you to keep all your weight on your left leg, essentially, and then you're gonna step your right foot down. Foot's gonna come all the way down. At the same time, your hands, right? Your right fist, left hand, these are pressing forward, and your left toe will step out. Now here, likewise, I have all my body weight on my back leg, which is gonna be my right leg. So I can lift my left toe up, no problem, without having to shift my weight back. Again, if my weight is forward, I have to shift back in order to lift this up. So we're here, then we're gonna roll the fist back to the chest. Left foot steps back behind the right, and your right foot comes back to meet the left. That's our on guard, or that's our salute, okay? And now if you've done this in previous lessons, I apologize, we're gonna review this sometimes. Again, I'm starting you off as if this is your first class and you're doing private lessons. So this is essentially your private lesson of Jeet Kune Do. So last time, let's do this with me. Ibe, left over right, Gen Lai, pull back, forward, and roll back. Fantastic. So the first thing that we're gonna teach you in your private Jeet Kune Do lesson is your on guard stance. You're gonna do all of this with me. This is essentially a class session, and we're gonna break things down for you step by step. And that's the difference between this and our online lessons. We have online lessons that you may have done and seen before, but this is more of a classroom setting. So it's a little bit different, it's more interactive. I want you to get up and try these things with me. So first thing I want you to do, we're gonna start with our on guard stance, which we call a baijong or small basic bent knee stance. What we're gonna do is we're gonna start with our feet about hip distance apart. So they're directly under my hips, they're not shoulder width apart, they're under my hips here. And I'm gonna take a natural step forward with my strong side. So if I'm right-handed, take a step forward with my right foot. And now you'll notice I have a line here marked in the floor. Essentially, I'm gonna step back a little bit so you guys can see. I'm gonna place my right foot on that line because I'm right-handed. and I'm gonna, my right toe and my left heel will be on that line. Now my heel on the left, my rear heel is slightly off the ground. So we wanna make sure we maintain pressure in the toes just for mobility's sake. So this is gonna be the first kind of motion to get to our fighting stance, our fighting posture. Again, from here, your rear heel is gonna be slightly raised. You're gonna have, I'm gonna come to the side here. Your knees are gonna be slightly bent, slight bending your knees. Of course, your hands are up, chin is tucked, shoulders are slightly raised here. I wanna make sure that you're sitting or relaxing into your structure here, into your legs. In other words, you're not standing up tall, you're not standing here, you're not standing too wide, these are all common mistakes that folks do. I don't want you hunched over like this, sticking your butt out, okay? All of those things are bad, okay? Don't do those things. Another common mistake here, I wanna make sure that your stance is bladed, meaning that your angle, your body should be angled, even though your nose is straight ahead, okay? Don't turn your nose here, even though your eyes can see your opponent in front of you. You will have a blind spot here. It's hard to see this blind spot. So make sure you keep your head, nose, everything lined up here on center, even though your body will be bladed. Make sure your body is not squared and straight ahead like so. So this is gonna be our fighting posture. Now my rear hand, my back hand is gonna be a little bit higher than my front hands. Again, I want you to do this with me. You should be doing this. You should be in your stance. So we're gonna be here and we're gonna practice this. We're gonna practice getting into our stance. So again, that's the difference here. So we're practicing this. So now I want you to start here just like we started initially, and I want you to take that step forward, boom. That natural step, this should be your fighting posture without much adjustment. Now, in the beginning, you're gonna have to adjust because what's gonna happen is when you take that step forward, maybe your feet are gonna cross that line. Now you'll see here, what I just did, essentially, I put my toe, both toes are on that line. And what that makes it is I'm off balance here. So if I take impact to the front of my chest, even if my hands are up, if I take impact to the front of my chest, I've got to step back. And it's very difficult now for me to turn, rotate into my punches. If I want to kick my back leg, I'm blocked by my front. I got to move my back leg out to be able to kick. All sorts of issues when you are completely side stance like so. So make sure you take that foot and bring it on the opposite side so your heel touches the line and toe touches the line. And you're slightly raised, right? So at least on the rear foot. Make sure you're not on your tippy toes. You don't want to be off balance and wobbly here. So this is our fighting stance. So let's do it again. Start with eyes closed. And when I take a natural step, what that means is that as you naturally walk, however you naturally walk, that's the distance you want between your feet. And it's a natural step. So in other words, it's not a small step. If you walk like this all the time and you're gonna fight like this, you're gonna get knocked out, okay? That's the reality of it. And if you're taking long strides, like you're in a hurry, again, long stride, you're gonna have a nice wide stance. Again, it's not very effective for mobility. And so you're gonna have to be very limited if your stance is too wide. So you want it nice in the middle, nice and natural. It should feel a little bit more natural, but as you move around in it, it will become more natural for you. So again, just want you to try this a few times. Now, initially here, I'm doing this by stepping forward. I also want you to be able to do the same thing by stepping back, because in reality, when you are faced with an aggressor, I don't really want to step forward into that person, that individual, right? I want to be able to step back. Hey, calm down, relax. Now look, I am now in my fighting posture, even though my hands are less threatening, right? Because I'm kind of talking them down, but I'm ready to go. I'm on the balls of my feet. My knees are slightly bent. Our stance is angled. My nose is straight ahead. Shoulders maybe slightly raised even, but I'm ready to go, even though I'm hopefully trying to diffuse the situation with verbal judo. So that's what we're gonna practice on, okay? So again, do this with me. We're stepping forward, boom, there's our stance. Again, step, and then come back, right? Now I'm gonna do the same thing, stepping back, getting into the stance. Now I want you to look down at your feet, make sure your front toe and rear heel are in the same line, okay? We call this heel toe alignment. So if you don't have a line on your floor, get some tape, mark a line. If you have wood floor or maybe you have tile or whatever you have, a mat, if you have seams in the mat that you have at home, that's fine. Just find something to mark a straight line so you can make sure that you have the right posture. Once you have this memorized, where no matter what you're doing, you're moving around, you should be able to get to that structure and know that you have heel toe alignment. You shouldn't have to look down at your feet. However, in the beginning, you should do that. I promise you, if you think you got it, you don't. If you've never done Jeet Kune Do or a lot of martial arts before, particularly combat martial arts, even combat martial arts, a lot of them don't have a proper stance. So very important to go ahead and practice this a few times. So I even like to do this with my eyes closed and then open my eyes and see how I feel. Same thing, stepping back, boom, and we're here. Now, in the beginning of your training, I just want you to work on one stance. So in other words, if your strong side's forward is your right side, work just your right side. So you're gonna work just southpaw. We call southpaw from boxing, as opposed to your left lead, where you have your left arm forward. This is orthodox. So just work one side. The reason for that is because I want you to be good, at least on one side. That way you know how that should feel. Once you are good on that one side, now you can take that and work your other side now to understand how that should feel. If you train both sides at the same time, you're gonna suck at both, I promise, okay? It's just the reality of it. So get good on one side and then use that knowledge now to bring up your other side once you're further along and more advanced. So this is our on guard stance. So we just trained that, we just practiced that. Now we're gonna move on a little bit to footwork. Now, if you need to review that class or that lesson on the stance, feel free to go ahead and do that. But we're gonna go ahead and move on into footwork a little bit. So the first things I really want you to be able to do is just a half step or a single step. What that means is you're just gonna move one foot. In other words, if I wanna move my front foot, I'm just gonna move my front foot and move it back. Move it forward, move it back. Same thing with my back foot. Move it back, move it forward. Move it back, move it forward. What I want you to do for now is always move your foot in the closest direction. What that means is if my front foot is in the front, I don't wanna move it back, okay? My front foot's in the front, I wanna move it forward. Typically, you're using this to dance towards your opponent to attack. So I wanna be able to move this forward. Same thing with my back leg, I don't wanna move this forward because look what that does. That raises my center of gravity, brings my feet really close together, and I'm very tall now, much taller than when I was in my on guard stance, and I can't defend myself from here. Very easy for someone to grab my legs if they're a wrestler and take me down. So from here, I just want you to take that half step back, half step back. Now, in Jeet Kune Do, we call our fighting stance the small phasic bent knee stance. And what that means is that it's small, right? It's phasic. So smalling means that the movements are small. So I don't want you to take large steps like this. It should not look like this. Again, do this with me. You should be doing this right now. Okay, don't just sit there and watch. You should be doing this. Don't take these large steps like this. This is horrible, right? Because now I've gotten to this wide stance now. It's not functional. I have poor mobility, poor footwork. I can't move. I'm gonna be slow and I'm gonna get hit. So what I want you to do is take small steps, right? Where you're almost barely moving. Now be mindful as you take your steps, be mindful what your hips are doing. Are your hips staying in place or are they moving, okay? They're moving, right? And that's okay to do one or the other. It doesn't matter. I just want you to be mindful, okay? Be aware. What gets you hurt is when you're unaware of what your body's doing, okay? So we have that. The same thing with the rear foot. We're able to step this back. Now, sometimes I'll step this back. I'll come down on that heel. Depends on what I'm doing. Otherwise, I will leave the heel up. I'm taking that very half step, very small movements, okay? All right, so we have that. So you just did that. You say, hey, Seafood Rob, that's very easy. No problem, easy day. So what I want you to do, once you've taken a few steps, again, take a few steps, get used to it, step, right? Maybe take a few steps forward, a few steps back. And I want you to look down at your feet, make sure you didn't lose your heel toe alignment, okay? Make sure your front toe, rear heel are still on that line. Very important. It's easy to get to the line when you initially start, but to stay there, to stay with heel toe alignment, and that's gonna be your balance, right? Because you're gonna be able to balance side to side, left to right. You gotta be able to rotate. It's very functional for many purposes. However, when you start moving around, most people tend to lose their heel toe alignment and they lose their baijong. They lose their on guard stance, okay? All right, so those are our initial movements. Now, in addition to that, we just really moved going forward and back. Obviously, there are more ways to move your feet, right? You have directions. So I want you to also be able to move your feet in different angles, different directions. Typically in the beginning, we teach you going forward from the front leg, but we also teach you going at an angle to still going forward. Now I'm going forward to my left. I'm going forward to my left, or I'm going forward to my right. I tend to use the compass in describing this. It just helps if you're a navigator or have done any kind of navigation, or just if you look at a map, you understand north and south, east, west, so forth, right? So north is gonna be directly in front of me. If I'm stepping to an angle, what's this gonna be? This is gonna be northwest, and this is gonna be northeast, coming to this angle. So I want you to be able to do that, going in those different directions. So again, whether I'm going north, or I'm going northwest, or I'm going northeast, that's fine. You just have to be able to do that with these small steps. Again, do this with me. You should be doing this right now. Right now, we're taking these steps in 3 directions. This is your class. This is your private lesson. Taking the steps in these 3 directions. And when you come back to center, again, check your alignment. Do you have heel toe alignment? Very important. Always check that. Now, still keep your movements small. What I don't want you to do is I don't want you to step too far over, right? Where now you're all crossed up here. It's very unfunctional, dysfunctional, very hard to punch, rotate, or do anything combative from there if you're too crossed over. So typically what I do is I just cross a little bit. And we may use this if we're moving towards a target here, right? Or if I'm slipping a punch, I might move my front foot and turn to face my opponent or cut an angle on my opponent. Moving over here to my right, similarly, I don't want you to step out too wide because what does that do? Now it opens up the groin. So I want you to keep this step nice and small. You can still use the slip. When I typically am doing this step, instead of just stepping, so if I'm in front of you here, okay, again, as you do this, please keep your hands up. Sometimes I'll drop my hands just so you can focus on the footwork. Generally, I want you to be in the habit of keeping your hands up just in general, because most students tend to drop their hands and they get hit, all right? That's just what happens, especially if you're training at home. You don't have anyone to punch in the face, okay? So get used to keeping your hands up. So when I step out here, the groin opens up a little bit. However, what I want you to do from here is now to turn your hips a little bit. Turn your hips, right? So that makes this a little bit more narrow, very slightly. You can still get kicked in the groin. Not saying it's you know, it's an invincible thing, but I do want you to turn a little bit, okay? So now my shoulders are facing at the northeast direction here. They're not facing directly forward here in front of you, right? And again, I'm gonna get knocked out here. So I wanna go ahead and face this direction, whether I'm dealing with an opponent or threat here, or if my opponent's still in front of me, this still allows me to be able to rotate and turn my punch into my opponent here. So that's why we are rotating and turning. So those are your steps. Now, obviously you can do the same thing. I did the 3 directions here. You can do the same thing here, going southwest or southeast as well. I'll let you do that on your own in your own time. Again, take consideration to whether you want to keep that heel up or lower that heel. It depends on what you're doing. I typically will keep the heel up if I plan to go forward again. If I'm just stepping back and don't plan to initially go forward or jump forward, I'm gonna go ahead and lower that heel to the ground because maybe I need to plant that foot to drive weight into a punch or to drive power into a punch. And I may need to anchor that foot down, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with that, okay? Or you may be doing something else, okay? There may be other reasons why you wanna do this. Maybe your opponent's punching you and you're gonna be more grounded if you drop your heel. So there's situations where you may wanna drop your heel, okay? And that's okay to do that if you need to defend and ground yourself for a while until you can circle out or counter. So those are your initial footworks, the half step. Now we're gonna work our next footwork here. We're just gonna keep things moving. Keep things moving. We're teaching you the basics, teaching you the fundamentals. Again, feel free to rewatch this lesson. We're gonna work on now doing 2 steps, right? So initially we did a half step and we came back. Now we're gonna do a half step with one foot and then we're gonna slide up the other foot. We call this a step and slide. So it's a step, slide, step and slide. So instead of me stepping and coming back to my starting position, stepping, coming back to start, I'm gonna step, stepping back, and I'm gonna slide this foot up to about the same distance, okay? So step, slide, step, slide, step, and slide. Step, slide, step, slide, step, slide. Again, get used to keeping the hands up, but I do want you to focus on the footwork. Okay, so you say, Seafood Rob, that's great. Again, what's the purpose, okay? Again, purpose for all footwork is to get you in or out of range of your opponent, right? To attack or defend. That's the bottom line. Well, I can step in and attack. I can step in and defend. I can move back and defend. I can move back and attack. Either way, okay? It just depends on the situation. So the initial half step here, this gets me a certain distance, but when I step and slide, now I'm staying in that position or I'm staying in that range or continuing to go forward typically. I mean, you can still go back or left or right or whatever the case may be, but now I'm taking myself with me. I'm not just making a half commitment and coming back, okay? I'm committed now, moving forward towards my opponent. Again, keep all your steps nice and small. I want you to try this. You should be doing this with me. So we're gonna go forward and back for now. We're just gonna step, slide, step, slide, step, slide, step, slide. Nice small movements, small phasic bent knee stand. Step, slide, step, slide, step, slide. So I use this to advance. I use this to follow my opponent, essentially. If my opponent's moving around, if they're moving back, I'm following. But I'm taking small measures, small steps because I need to make sure that I'm mindful of the distance and the range. I don't want to get too close to my opponent necessarily because then he'll be able to reach me and hit me and it'd be hard to intercept. So I want to kind of be in the range where I can read his movement and see what he's doing and intercept him. That's my intention, that's my goal. But if I'm too close to the guy, it's very difficult to intercept from here because you don't have time to see, perceive, process, decide on what you want to do, send that signal to your muscles to respond and actually get that response off before he hits you. Okay, so you need to be able to do all that with your sight, your mind, and everything else, the neural pathways. You got to be able to do all of that. So distance helps you to be able to do that. So I want to be able to control distance. Now with this footwork, it's very much the same. I can go forward to back, but I can also go left and right. The same principles apply. You want to make sure that you always move your closest foot. So if I want to go to my right, guess what? I'm going to move my right foot first. It's going to be right, then left. If I want to go left, I'm going to move my left foot, then my right foot. Make sure you always move the closest foot. Always move the closest foot. Sorry, that's my timer. I like to stop around 20 minutes here. This thing is going to keep going off. This is going to keep going off here. All right, there we go. So those of you guys don't know, it's the old iPod Touch. Okay, that's how old I am. Okay, iPod Touch. All right. So you're like, what is iPod Touch? All right, so I want you to practice this. We're gonna continue with this in our next lesson, just side to side and forward to back. Again, the biggest thing I want you to focus on is this, your heel toe alignment. Especially going side to side, you gotta come back to that heel toe alignment. Very important. As you move, look down, check your feet. Okay, I'm good. Heel toe alignment, good, okay? Make sure that rear heel stays up. Maintain your posture. Be aware. Have that sense of feel within your body. Give that a shot. We're gonna pick this up in our next lesson. Let's go ahead and bow out. Great job today. Great work on your first private lesson in Jeet Kune Do. So, eBay, left hand over right. Again, I'm gonna mirror you here. Again, lie, pull back, forward, and roll back. Again, fantastic work. We'll see you in the next lesson.